guys, and thanks for joining us on this Pride Month train. It is my absolute pleasure to be collaborating with these fantastic fellow artists of mine, and we hope you've enjoyed the ride so far. We left the station on Wednesday and are continuing today. Now, these events do take a lot of work, so I want to send some huge thanks to Taneva and Dave for putting this together for us all. We appreciate them so much. As you can see, I'm using some amazingly bright and vibrant colors in this palette. These are all Prizm Pour paints from ColourArte, and I have a few reasons for using them in this specific technique. I'm going to be doing one of my favorites, which is a traveling ring pour. Now, a regular ring pour in itself is beautiful, but there's just something magical that happens when you move around the canvas as you're pouring. You'll see that when the lines start to stretch out, so much depth is created, and sometimes it almost gives a 3D vibe. Prizm Pour paints are basically pigments that have already been converted into a liquid form for you. They're blended with a deep base enamel, so they're very thick, which is perfect for a ring pour. The reason I'm using white satin enamel with these paints is because I don't want cells in my ring pours. You always risk the possibility of cells when you're using regular acrylic titanium white, so I like to take that risk out of the equation by using satin enamel. My pouring medium was one that I've been using quite often. It was actually the only pouring medium I used in my classes at the Fluid Art Experience. So this is 70% Floetrol, 30% Creative Inspirations, Polymer Gloss Medium, and Varnish, which you can get from Jerry's Artarama. You combine the two, and the two of them together make your pouring medium. Now here I used about 1 part medium to 1 part paint, and I added a little bit of water until I got it to the consistency that I wanted. And that consistency is very thick. I actually mixed up the paints ahead of time and let them rest so that any air bubbles would come to the surface before I started pouring. The last reason I use these paints is that they really don't ever create mud when you're pouring them. You've sometimes seen when you're getting to the end of pouring a layered cup and the colors start to blend and get muddled. These don't do that. They totally stay true to color. Now, I generally like to do my tilting in real time, but because of the thickness of this paint and time constraints of this collaboration, I have sped it up just ×2. So think about that as I'm tilting. However long it's going to take me to tilt this, multiply that by 2, because it really does take a while when the paint is so thick. It just doesn't move very quickly, nor do you want it to, because you want to be able to keep the integrity of your lines, hence why you've got to have the thick paint. It's around this point that I decided I really don't like those little tiny areas of white that I filled in before I started tilting. I thought they would make a nice little separation, but as I was tilting, they just got obviously bigger, and they stood out. They just stood out. They didn't go with the flow of the painting. So I'm going to tilt them off, which is going to take me just a minute. this thing dried absolutely beautifully. You know, at the start of the video, I talked about how vibrant the palette was. I wanted something happy, inspiring, empowering, something that moves you when you look at it. And when I look at it, just those colors make me so happy. It brings out a lot of joy, and it doesn't hurt that it has a wild kind of jungle vibe to it too. Guys, we appreciate you being here so much. Your viewership means the world to us. And don't go anywhere. Up next, we've got Michelle Galley with Grateful Creations coming up next.